first up is Futique by Biffy Clyro.
If you want it, we can conquer it all. With a little love, if you're honest, we can defeat them all.
So this was chosen by Adam Reeves, editor of the Dead Good Music blog, and you can keep up to date with Adam's writing by following @deadgoodmusic_ on Instagram. So I've decided to go first out of loyalty to Biffy Clyro. I think what's going to follow isn't going to be pretty. So and to be from our discussions, and to be honest, I'm not exactly going to be giving a glowing review myself, but yeah, this was one which, you know, I easily could have picked myself, but I was a little bit nervous about. I think there's certain bands who you feel particularly wedded to, who to bring on maybe at a certain stage of their career, you're just like, oh, this might not go so well. Either way, Adam chose them, so here
It's
we
usually album 11 where you can say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's usually album number 11 where you can say that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think this is. I think it was 10. This is 10, or maybe it is 11.
Well, the Biffy heads kind of go. I was reading, kind of go back and forth on it, but either
Really? Okay, I didn't realize that was a debate.
yeah.
I've read about it. It seems in most official things I've read it, they refer to it as a 10th. But I suppose they've done a film score in the years. Maybe.
I don't know if it was maybe a remix album or I don't remember.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, well, that'll be something to dig into after.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to jump in. So just so we can get a little bit of a maybe a nicer start to proceedings, but yeah, I you know, kind of like I say, it's a bit tough when it's a band who, you know, with the exception of Queens of the Stone Age, possibly my favorite contemporary band, essentially. However, it feels like they are on that sort of downward streak, and you know, all artists have those moments where it's kind of, you know, they've lost that great streak they might have had earlier in their career. Certainly, you know, I feel, you know, they've been a very consistent band, and even up until the 2020 celebrations of Endings, I thought was an absolutely fantastic album, one of my favorites of the decade so far. We then in 2021 had The Myth of the Happily Ever After, which was a bit more disjointed. It felt like the band wanted to go in a rockier place, but it didn't have much form, I felt, the music. And maybe that was the stepping stone needed for Simon to then go on to form Empire State Bastard with touring guitarist Mike Venart and I think Dave Lombardi, the Slayer drummer. I think Carl, you've got a bit of, you kind of like Empire State Bastard, but yeah,
I
kind of does nothing for me.
Yeah, I listened to a bit of them. Obviously, it's a bit more metal,
Screamo.
a bit more screamo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say I like it, but it's definitely interesting. It's interesting.
Interesting as a word. I think I
Yeah.
kind of tolerated the single which came out, but then to try and listen to the album was a step too far. And seeing them at Download as well, it's very rare I would leave a set early, but halfway through I was like, no, thank you. So having kind of got out that real screamo side of him, they return as, you know, to the mothership, and it feels like they've gone, okay, we've done that. This probably is their poppiest record they've ever done, and yeah, it almost without any edge, which it's probably that mixture of soft poppiness, which there's always been a part of the band, but with that edge, which I've always loved about the band, that it can be combined and you get that kind of contradiction coming together and blended. So yeah, and I think look, I watched a bit of their Glastonbury performance as well, and the crowd as well seemed pretty small for them, you know. So it just feels that they are on this downward trajectory, and it really pains me to say it. But there we go. And so I mentioned to you guys, I was enjoying it actually. I mean, I think as a listening experience, I think it's a good album. But good, you know, compared to the many albums we listen to throughout the year. Doesn't really, you know, cut the mustard. And I just feel that there's not really any kind of shining lights, real standout moments, perhaps until the end of the album where it gets a little bit more interesting. But I think one of the things, you know, I mentioned to you guys was you get some of those classic good Biffy verses, but the choruses really let a lot of the songs down. I find it really just you sort of get brought to this moment of interest about what the chorus is going to be, and then you get this really generic-y kind of soft chorus which can kind of really take away from where a song is led. And I found that with quite a few of the songs. I mean, Hunting Season is maybe the best example of that. It's also one of the better songs on the album, as is A Little Love, which was the opening track, which didn't quite get me at the time, but it's grown over time. But yeah, I think until you get to Dearest, Amygdala, and Two People in Love, which I think is the strongest part, the last two songs of the album, preceded by 1001, which is one of their worst songs I think they've put to record. Yeah, it's a mixed bag, and ultimately falls well short of their high standards. So one I can quite happily listen to. It's not got that element which I'd turn it off. But yeah, it's below par. Lyrics are a bit naff in places. I think that's something you mentioned, Carl, on the chat, and I agree with. And yeah, just remains solidly good for me. So if that's the high point, then I'm interested to hear your reviews. And yeah, Carl, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out if I'll be nicer or worse than Filey, but yeah, I mean, I'll start.
Who said they didn't like it?
We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'd say, yeah, I mean, I'd say going into this, I'm a reasonable Biffy enthusiast. Certainly not, you know, besotted with them, as I know a lot of yourself, Andrew, a lot of people over here are. Obviously, festival headliners for years, and yeah, I know amongst certain rock fans, they would, you know, like yourself, say they are the best band around. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, I wouldn't go that far, but like you, have generally enjoyed their output over the years. I mean, Puzzle is still my favorite of theirs by far, but have enjoyed at least parts of every album since then. I think they're certainly a great singles band, and when I've seen them live, just an outstanding live act as well. However, yeah, with this new album, I'm really struggling to find anything I like about it at all. Every time I listen to it, I can't get past this notion that they just sound like a parody of themselves. I know they've always had like the style and they stick to it, but here it feels like they are leaning into it like so much that it doesn't even sound authentically them anymore. And that's my biggest disappointment, I think, with this album. Aside from that, you know, you touched on it, Andrew. Lyrics are just really cheesy. A Little Love, obviously the lead single and the opening track. Um, yeah, for me that rang alarm bells with the, you know, A Little Love, we can conquer it all. Little love just for everyone. You know, in general, I don't think, you know, in general, I don't think that's a bad message for 2025. But when it's coming out of a, you know, a rock band in that manner, it feels a bit like, do you remember the Gal Gadot Imagine video that she released during lockdown? And it was meant to make everyone feel better, but it just made them feel worse. That's kind of
Angry.
yeah, that's good. That's kind of what that song does to. That's the vibe I get from it. But yeah, I'd say that's not even the worst offender here. Shot One, is again just really cringy, a bit nonsensical as well when you really listen to what he's saying. It's like I've got the lyrics here, you only get one shot and that's what makes it serious. Love is all that matters, but it also shatters. If this is love, then I forget what it is. And it's like if you're just like, what? I'm listening to it at a point, I'm like, what are you talking about here, Simon? It's like,
Yeah, he's filling in the blanks.
yeah, did GPT write this for you? I think that, but yeah, it's like overly glossy production on there too. Yeah, just not good. And then Woe Is Me, Woe Is You, and Goodbye. They're probably the two that, like you say, Andrew, like in the verses, they show some promise, start out a bit more broody, a bit more melancholic, but then it gets to the chorus and then they just both completely lose me again. I mean, the chorus on the latter is probably the worst on the album. We believe in the concept, we defy the impossible, we undertook the research, we watched
That
it
line,
play
man.
out. This
The research one.
yeah, it's just so clunky and yeah, it's like a university student trying to hit the word count on their dissertation or something. It's just like yeah, it just keeps going. But yeah, won't go into it anymore as my feelings every track pretty much the same. But yeah, like you, Andrea, I think Biffy just sound really lost here and almost like they can't be bothered at times as well. It comes across as yeah, them phoning it in, churning out maybe a few more sing-alongs for the tour without any of the depth that I know that they're capable of putting into their songs. So yeah, big misfire this one for me, and I yeah, just hope the next one gets them back on track.
Highly. What do you have to add to?
Well, I think I was definitely the outsider on this one because Biffy Clyro, to my knowledge, has never even made a drop in the United States. And going back through, I remember only Revolutions. I don't remember How I Came. I don't know if I saw it in NME or something like that. And I remember listening to it when it came out and liking it okay. And then Opposites following that, I remember giving it a spin and just like, I don't know what I was thinking with this last record. It wasn't for me. So, I can comfortably say that those are the two Biffy Clyro albums I've listened to. And so when this got nominated, it's like, just curious what a 10th record from these guys could sound like, or 11th. What, but you guys always talk about indie landfill, and this is like the definition of indie landfill to me. Just I know you guys have touched on it, but a little love. I I I know it's about relationships more so than world vibes, but just everything going on right now. With a little love, if you want, we can conquer it all. I was furious when I heard that lyric because it seems so out of touch, between the world climate and also, I guess, just where I'm at in life. Lyrics about failed relationships do not interest me whatsoever anymore. Um, and then, yeah, I would say I don't think we've talked too much about, Goodbye, I think is the worst song on the record. Just, I understand what they were doing with the sequencing, trying to have banger, quiet, banger, but that one in particular, which I assume is kind of supposed to be the centerpiece of the record. I read that that was the first song written for it. It's like, man, if that's the centerpiece of the record, um, the rest of it is a mess. And yeah, it's between the teenage diary lyrics, the heavier songs. I just kept on thinking of Foo Fighters the last 20 years that I haven't been able to get into so much. It's just a lot of empty butt rock. And then the songs aren't great, and we've talked about it being glossy and poppy, which I don't necessarily have a problem with if it's done right, but the amount of compression on this record, the mix, like it is just a really removing the songs, it's a really ugly album sounding album. And um I could see where if you're a fan of Biffy Clyro, that maybe these songs would have connected more live, because everything is just so gated and has no room to breathe. And a lot of the times I think that's just as unforgivable as bad songs. So yeah, just this was I listened to it twice and it was a slog both times.
I can say live they are better.
Yeah, I would imagine
So I can confirm that.
I didn't go as far as looking up who produced and mixed this record because
Mm.
it is what it is, but whoever they are, it's unacceptable that something sounds like this in 2025.
So the band need to get rid of their producer and I think they need to do something new for album 11 or 12. So
Just wait for an anniversary tour whenever.
all good. Right, so a bit of a skewering to start off our 5. But yeah, let's see if it's going to get any better.